It looks like you lost another one.
And we are back. Welcome, everybody, back to another episode of the OG3 presented by the Off the Bone Network. As always, I'm joined by my guys to my left or to my right, whatever way you're looking at it. To my left, you can see the OG of OGs, Jeff in the building. And in the bottom, my guy, Mo Open Flames Murphy. What's going on, fellas?
I'm good.
It's great, man. It's been a few weeks. It's been busy. Like we all been like, here's what's cool. We all been doing our own stuff. Like it's not like we haven't done anything. And yeah, I feel like unless I've done this show recently, I feel like I've done nothing. I've done at least one show a week, for the last forever. But I'm like, man, I haven't done nothing lately. And then like you started the conversation today, like, can we get an OG3 in this weekend? And I'm like, I was like, yeah, I haven't done anything in forever, even though like I do at least one show a week. You guys been busy as hell, doing all kinds of show, putting out all kinds of content. Mo's out here winning championships. Like Mo's out here winning playoff games for the greater Fort Worth area. And so Mo. I'm glad to be back. I'm happy. I'm glad we could all get together and do this. And it's gonna be fun to get some of this stuff out of our system.
Yeah, and I've been good. That's about as much. Yeah, I've just been good, been busy.
Mo converted. Congratulations.
Yeah. I jumped the broom.
You one of them now, Mo. Hey, Mo, is tomorrow's topic on the show LeBron versus Jordan, or have you not that level
I've ascended to that level. Yeah, I'm not there yet.
I just want to suggest a topic. Your next topic is have the Dallas Mavericks passed up the Dallas Cowboys for
as
greatness.
America's team.
As America's team. There you go. I just gave you 8 shows, bro.
Is Luka the great right hope?
Yes, he is. But like
is Luka better than Troy Aikman?
If he wins this championship, he might be held in a higher regard. I'm gonna be honest. I think, folks, you hitting that age group, people are starting to forget about Detroit. Man, they forgetting about that '90s Cowboys. Like, come on, man. Like Emmitt Smith is no longer widely regarded as the greatest running back of all time. It's like, because nobody cares about the glorious Cowboys days anymore, none of those guys get their credit. Like, we don't talk about Emmitt Smith no more. We don't talk about Troy Aikman no more. He has to make pop-ups all over Dallas for us not to forget that he won some Super Bowls. Michael Irvin is Michael Irvin. He's forever going to be a legend. But outside of that, bro, I'm really starting to think the way these other teams are winning, the Dallas Stars about to play, the Rangers just won the World Series, and the Mavericks are playing in the NBA Finals. Right now, Dallas could care less about the Cowboys and what they got going coming up this season. I swear to God.
Greatest Irving, Kyrie or Michael?
Michael for now.
So
what's crazy? You mentioned Kyrie, and I was talking to a buddy today. He's a Brooklyn Nets fan, and we're just talking about what do you think's going to happen for the Nets and all that, and we kind of backtrack to like the Kyrie stuff. And isn't it crazy how there's people apologizing to Kyrie?
Yeah, because
there was a lot of people. There was a lot of people who were not just mad about Kyrie and what happened during the whole. When we all know how the world was during COVID and all that, but like Stephen A. Smith telling him to retire, and other people just like calling him a bad human, and just all this stuff. And now, when the world is normal and he's winning, which is the key big thing, he's winning.
Well, yeah,
I think that's the biggest thing is what got people mad about Kyrie was not just what was going on off the court and and on the court, but the fact that they weren't winning. Because winning cures everything. We all know that there's a lot of bad athletes who are not good people, and because they won, they got away with whatever happened or whatever. But it's just crazy how Kyrie's winning. He's not causing your friction. Like last year, they were getting on Kyrie. Oh, look what happened. They trade for him and they don't make the playoffs, blah, blah, blah. This year, they're in the NBA Finals, and there's people apologizing to Kyrie. And it's just crazy how winning just like gets people to forget. And I'm not and I was a big defender of Kyrie, and this is coming from a Knicks fan and all that, because I'm a big Kyrie guy. I've watched him since he's playing high school ball in Jersey at St. Patrick's over here, close by. So like I've been a big Kyrie guy. He's probably one of my favorite players to watch, even though he played for Brooklyn. But it's just crazy to see everybody apologizing after they absolutely ripped him apart just a few years ago. So like that you mentioned, the Irving and all, and it just brought that up because I was talking about that today. I'm like, isn't it crazy how people like wanted him out of the league and he's such a bad person and all that? And everybody's, oh man, he actually is a really good person, which he always was. It's just that situation was obviously we know about that situation, how
there's a weird time in the world, bro.
In the world that happened, and it cost the Nets whatever they were trying, obviously try to win the championship and all that. But it's just crazy how those people who killed Kyrie are now apologizing because he's in the NBA Finals.
But you know why they're apologizing though. And I just want to say this. You know why? Because these sports outlets have to apologize. It's deeper than Kyrie. They are apologizing for the fact that with the Kyrie Irving situation, we turned ESPN and Fox Sports into CNN and Fox News. Like when it was covering Kyrie, it was everything other than basketball. And then we'll slip a little bit of, oh, he's not winning games, so this is why we're allowed to feel this way and it doesn't change. All it is these people are apologizing because they tried to bring the politics of the world at the time into the sports. And I always say, though, sports is sacred. Sports is the one place where like everybody can come together, and it's not about who's about to be your next president or what vaccine we're supposed to take and not take and what's going on in the world. Like for those couple of hours at these venues or in front of your TV, like all that matters is that sporting event. And so we don't go to ESPN to come and find out like, there was too much COVID talk. There was too much focus on who's getting what. And it's like ESPN is supposed to be an outlet away from that. And now all these people are apologizing because guess what? They're also all about to have to sit in Kyrie Irving's face and interview him after games covering the finals. Stephen A knows he's about to have to sit in that seat and sit right next to Kyrie Irving and have to talk to him after a game. And so you owe the man an apology. And so now you're apologizing because you have to clear the air before he says, I told you so.
I just want to stand up real quick for Kyrie's ex teams and say here's like there's a couple things that were legit about it. Like you did pay a guy to do a job and to show up, and I think the most disappointing thing about Kyrie is that also those teams knew that this was the version of Kyrie that they signed up for. And that hurts, man. Like when you sign that guy up and you don't get this guy that the Mavericks are getting, like I can see why you'd be bitter. I can see what, and the political stuff is for whatever reason he did it. Also, at the same time, the one thing that people just want to do is like, man, just let me watch some basketball. Just let me sit here and watch some basketball. And Kyrie, and I always defended Kyrie as being like, you did what was most important to you in your life. But like, also people are like, this is the version of Kyrie that I wanted in the Nets. This is the version like Kyrie and Durant and that Nets team win the championship of things like, injuries were everything. But like, I think there's still just a lot of like what could have been with Kyrie. So I think that's a lot of the animosity. Now, when you talk about, what you guys already talked about, the sports centers and the CNNs and all that. Yeah, that was just them like using him as a clickbait or whatever. So they do owe an apology. But like as far as the legit fans of those teams, like Chris, he's talking about his friend, like that would hurt. Because like this is the guy that we knew. And as a basketball fan, as happy as I am to watch this Mavs team play, there's a part of me that's a little bitter that I got robbed of like this is the Kyrie. It feels like we lost 5 years of his career of one of what should have been one of the great careers of all time. And I'm a little bitter, selfishly bitter, just because I want to see that on the court. You know what I mean? It's no different than like Derrick Rose getting injured. Man, I feel terrible. It wasn't his fault, but like, I feel terrible that I got robbed of like maybe some more years of that. So like, I think some of the animosity is like, we're just mad that we didn't get it. You know what I mean? It's like, and I think a lot of us feel like some of it was his choice or his fault or his decisions or whatever. So like selfishly, I'm just like, I wanted this Kyrie and Kevin Durant in the playoffs more and all that stuff. So like whether it's deserved or not, like some of the animosity is real, Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of Kyrie's a complex person. I'm glad it's going good now and all that, but I can't tell you how many times I've said, like, man, I feel like we got robbed of a truly historic NBA career rather than maybe just a great one.
Yeah, I get that. Like, I mean, it is like some of it is like, you bring on the problems. Like if you got 100 problems, I'm sure, 60, 65 of them are at least your fault. So like, yeah, he did bring some of it upon himself. But like the one thing is like entering this series, like Celtics fans got to let that hurt go. Like it was 5 years ago, man. Like at some point, you got to get over it.
They
Like
should be more worried about paying Isaiah Thomas
like,
all that money.
I've been to conference finals. Like
no, they actually got away with. They actually worked out that they didn't have to pay him.
Oh, really? They got out of that
hurt.
One?
Yeah, he got hurt.
Okay.
Right, he was gonna get the max, but he got hurt. He got the hip.
Oh, that's right. Oh, my bad. Well,
so they actually, it worked out. Even though he did good things for them, but if for the long run, it actually helped them out because I don't know. I don't know if this team looks this way if they had signed them long term. So
no,
everything happens for a reason and all that, but. It actually blessing the skies for Boston, that they did all that to trade and Isaiah got hurt because they didn't have to pay him and all that. And we don't know if the Tatum Brown thing is what it is now and the rest of the team looks it. So
let's just do that. Let's fast forward to what we have now. Like this is the version of Kyrie we get. This is the version of Luka we get, which is a monster. And this is the version of the Celtics we get. Maybe we should talk low NBA finals because I think that's what people are going to tune into this show to hear.
So okay, so let me ask this, and I know this is crazy and we do this all the time with every player. I said the other day that I think Luka right now, it's safe to say that from here on for the rest of his career, you're going to be witnessing what should be a top 5 to 7 career of all time.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is when it's all said and done, Luka's on the trajectory right now. Now we can talk about injuries and this and that, but he's not injured. He's hurt. He's banged up, but he's not injured. He's not missing a year. So as of right now, through his first 5 years, being able to know that he's not even entered his prime yet. He's 25. He's entering it. We get another 7 to 10 years of this. I think you're witnessing a top 5 to 7 player all time, and he does not need 5 to 6 to 7 championships. He might not challenge the GOAT, but if this guy is a walking first team all NBA like LeBron was, if this dude is going to average 30, 10, and 9 for the prime of his career, then we're literally witnessing. I think when it's all said and done, Luka will be what people thought Larry Bird is. Luka will be the actual walking definition of what people try and make it like Larry Bird is. And I'm no disrespect Larry Bird because he's a top 10 player all time in my eyes.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out.
I like that. What I like, here's the issue with that is we're getting so deep into NBA history that it's kind of like baseball. Like baseball got to be so old that at some point you have to just start we can't Bill Russell's we're almost to the point with Bill Russell to where nobody can jump him because it's been so long. None of us saw him play. It was such a different era that at some point you have to start shuffling. Like Jordan just can't be passed. Like we've established that Jordan can't be passed, whether that's right, wrong, or indifferent. By the time Luka retires, it's going to be 40 years since Jordan played. Like, think about that. Like, there's no way to compare 40 years later, no matter how good, at some point you have to start shuffling these guys away. So I'll say Luka's safely right now, definitely on trajectory to be top 10 player, only because there's no way on earth that I could justify being like Luka's better than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Whether he is or there's absolutely no way to quantify these two things, in my life.
And there's a certain
it doesn't even. And of course, I know
age group that will be like, what are you talking about? Kareem has the best career of all time.
So I'll just say it's safely right now. Luka's on trajectory to be one of the absolute great champagne room Hall of Famers that we've ever seen. However they want to rank them, we're going to spend the rest of our careers ranking these guys and re-ranking them and on and on.
Yeah.
But I told my son this yesterday. My son comes over as soon as I see him, he just wants to talk basketball. You know what I mean? So the first thing we say is, I'm like, here's what I know. We just spent the last year saying that without a doubt, hands down, nobody can contest it. Jokic is the best player in the NBA. We're into the NBA finals. I'm already no, Luka's better. We've already we've already we had it locked down. Nobody could argue that Jokic was the best, and already we can argue that.
And I think
3 weeks later,
people were waiting for Luka to be here though. Like
I
nobody
agree.
was going. Luka's the guy in the league, and like there's a couple of them young. Like Luka's one of them at 25. Ant's the next one coming up at 22. Like Ant's the next one coming up at 22, and Wemby's the next one coming up, and he's 20. Like those guys you're not gonna really value what they do until they at least get there.
Yeah.
And so like, when you're one of those elite of the elites, and we see it, whether it's projected or like Luka, 6 years in, 5-time first team All NBA. So like this dude is literally the best, if not one of the best at his position, year in and year out. And now he's in the finals, and it's like we've been waiting for him to at least reach and get to the finals to justify like how great he is. And I think Wemby's going to be a part of that conversation. Like we'll start valuing what type of great he's going to be once he wins a couple playoff series, finds himself in the Western Conference Finals, and then finds himself in the finals, which I'm sure he'll do in his first 7 years too. Like that's a long time from now to think Wemby at 25 years old might be the greatest thing we've ever seen, a 25-year-old period. So there's some young guys, but Luka, the first one of the young guys to get here, other than like Jason Tatum. Devin Booker made it a few years ago, but we weren't valuing Devin Booker the way we valued like Luka Doncic. Yeah. Like Luka's the guy. We're like, this dude he wins this championship, he might take the torch as the best player in the league and carry it for the next 10 years.
Even if it's not the best player, like I understand, like I get everybody's argument. Regular season Luka is good, but like I get what everybody's seeing. And I get the defensive stuff, all that. Like in the Minnesota series, like Luka didn't have to play a ton of defense. That's just a real thing. I'm not saying he couldn't. I'm not saying he could. All these things, but there was like that last game, like he was able to just run down under the basket. Like maybe I get a rebound or whatever, and then I'm going to go down and just light it up. That's fine. And I get what everybody said, but I'm saying like at their peak in a game, Luka's one of them dudes. Like it was like for anybody, it's not quite old enough to remember what it was like when Kobe was like, I'm going to win this game one way or another. Like you didn't know what one way or another was going to be, but you were like, can't stop it. Jordan had the same thing. Jordan had these weird, like go look at some of Jordan's shooting percentage games and some of the biggest games. He's shooting 30%, and yet it just keep going at it and keep going at it.
Kobe the same way too.
Kobe, like Luka reminds me probably just from like me watching the most of Kobe. When Luka's in his zone, it reminds me the most of Kobe is like, I don't want to just win this game. I don't want to just beat you. I want to embarrass you. I want you to go home and be embarrassed to walk in your front door. I want your family to be ashamed of you. I want, you know what I mean? Like that's what Luka does when he's hot. And I also get the other side of like, I see the complaints about Luka. Like he does constantly whine to the refs and constantly like, but he's just a maniac. He's just one of these maniacs that we beg for. Now, I don't think he's the most physically gifted. And I think like we're not going to have the Luka long-term, we'll do the Luka long-term after the finals or whatever. But do I think he can do this for 20 years like LeBron did? No, I don't think he's made the body type and all that, but I don't care about that right now. Here's what I do think. I think he's going to dedicate his life in the next 2 weeks to try and embarrass Jason Tatum. I think he takes it personal. And that 5 years ago on Off the Ball Network, we were arguing who we would take right now, Luka or Tatum. I think he heard that. I think he's going to play it back, and I think he's going to be on a mission. So he's just a different cat. Tatum is just as skilled as anybody in the league, but we all see that we don't see that out of Tatum. We haven't seen it yet. Now, if you tell me we come out of these series and Tatum showed us that, and he wins the NBA championship, we're gonna say Tatum might be the best in the world. Like we're going to change our minds quickly. We just haven't seen that out of him in this spot. And he hadn't had to do it in the playoffs. We know how talented he is. So it's going to be interesting.
I think that's
really interesting.
I think that's what everybody's paying attention to the Celtics team for too, is like you waiting for Tatum to just take a series and say it's
waiting.
Mine.
Yes.
Like, and we think, like you only wait for a player to do that when you think he can do it. Like, because the talent wise, Jason Tatum, like you said, he's just as skilled as anybody in the league. Like the man can give you 40, 50, 60 if he has to. Like he can give you a double-double with rebounds. He can make some plays passing the ball. Like, so he can do everything. We're waiting on him to just take a series and be like,
yeah.
Jaylen Brown, I love you. Drew, I love you. Kristaps, I love you. But I'm gonna tell you, we are going to win this championship, and I'm gonna do whatever I have to do,
Yes,
whatever that may look like. Like, we're gonna ride or die. But sometimes if you don't have that mentality, and then on top of that, you have a guy, your next best player might be your equal. Like, and yes, I think Tatum is better than Jaylen Brown, but like throughout times in the playoffs, you're like, you don't know who the best player on that team is. You don't know who the leader is, because Tatum's not a vocal leader. And so when you feel like maybe you feel a little threatened, there's a little more pressure for Tatum to get it done, for the simple fact he not only is he trying to separate himself and be the face of the league for like the American born players, but like he's trying to separate himself and really establish being the true that dude for the Celtics. I know he's the guy everybody will tell you he's the marketable guy. He's the one they're putting in face that he's the best player, but like Jaylen Brown just won Eastern Conference Finals MVP. Like, and I know that doesn't matter, but it was already stated leading into the finals that Jaylen Brown up to this point was probably playing like the best player on the team. That's who gets the conference finals MVP. You would, if it was just given to who the guy is, it would have been Tatum. Like with Luka. Kyrie would have had to do so much to take Western Conference Finals MVP from Luka Doncic, and he wouldn't have cared. Like, he wasn't trying to take it, but I'm just saying it would have took a couple 40-point performances for you to name Kyrie and not Luka. It wasn't like that with Tatum. Like, I don't think there wasn't a lot of hesitancy from people who voted for Eastern Conference Finals to take Jaylen Brown over Tatum. Now, this is his opportunity, win a championship, get Finals MVP, the one MVP outside of regular season MVP that really matters. And so he has the opportunity to do it. I just think we're all waiting for him to do it. And if he doesn't, then you start to have a different conversation about Jason Tatum. If he's back in the finals and they choke or whatever it may be, and he doesn't step up, like, you're having a different conversation about the Boston Celtics and Jason Tatum. I don't care. You'll stop buying in until they finally win a championship. Like, eventually,
that's to your credit, Mo. Like you said, like last game, Luka and Kyrie both scored 36. There's no question about who won that game. So like that's see what you're saying. So I'll throw a question to you guys real quick. Like coming out of this series, like we're going to talk about who's got the most on the line and all that. But like, I'll just send it. What does Boston have to do in the series to not, like Mo said, we start questioning everything about them? I know they don't have to win it, but like, what do they have to do so we're not on here in 2 weeks going, man, you got to blow this thing up?
They just got to keep playing the high-level defense that they know they can play. They're the best defense in the NBA and all that. So if they do that, if they lock up defensively and, just move the ball a little bit around, like we saw in some instances against Indiana and all that, they can win the series. Like, they're the better team, especially if Kristaps is coming back. Like, they're the better team. So if they just do that, they will be fine. It just feels like sometimes they just, because of the whole, Tatum, and listen, there's more pressure for Tatum than there is Brown. Let's be real. If Brown doesn't play good, it's just like, all right, whatever. But if Tatum doesn't play like he didn't do in the finals against the Warriors, especially in that game 6 where he was god awful, and in that series he wasn't good,
or game 7 versus the Heat last year,
then we don't talk about Brown. We talk about Tatum, right? The focus is on Tatum. So that's why there's a little bit more pressure for Tatum and all that. And that's why I think sometimes he gets in his head. And like, how many times do we got to say, bro, you're 6'9", you're 230. We know you can get to the hole whenever you want. Like, just be that player, because we know you are a top 5 talent. And we know you're, you played that way and all that. So like, and I know he hasn't, efficiency wise, he hasn't been to where Jaylen Brown is, but he's been he's still been pretty good. I think he's like 26.
Always good.
He's been 26, 11, and 5 and 6. He's putting up really good numbers and all that. It's just now, because he makes the playoffs every year, because he's gotten to the conference finals essentially every year, and he's gotten to a finals. Now we're like, okay, whatever happened in these first 3 rounds, we don't care. You played against bad teams, injury-riddled teams. We got to see it. Now we got to see you do it when you have there's no excuses now. Like, you have Drew Holiday. If Porzingis is back, you got Porzingis. You got Al Horford. You got guys off the bench that could shoot. You got Jaylen Brown. You guys are that much older, and you guys have been here for. Now it's like, hey, there's no more excuses, Jason. Like, all that. So, but if they just play the defense they can, and all that, and just pass the ball a little bit more. Kristaps is going to help if he's healthy and all that. He's definitely going to help, with spacing and all that because he could shoot. They should be fine. They just got to play their game. Sometimes they get a little bit out of whack. I mean, they probably should have lost a few games versus Indiana, but Indiana just late game, some late bad coaching and some late game blunders. This actually should have probably went 6 games and all that. So they took advantage because they are simply the better team. But now they're playing a team has a guy that they had the best player on the team, best player in the series is in Dallas and all that. And then they got a guy in Kyrie who we know has hit some big time shots, and we know what he can do in big moments.
So Mo, what do you think, Boston? What does Boston have to do to not get questioned after the series?
Play physical, like everything Chris said, but then like physicality on top of that. Like they're gonna, and Walker, like what he said is like the best.
Oh, that's actually.
If you told me Boston was gonna shoot 38 to 42% as a team from 3, they probably win this series.
What's your name on it, Walker? Give us a number.
Like if they shoot 38 to 42, I say they probably win this series. But they got to play physical because we know you're going to try and out finesse the Dallas Mavericks. We know you're going to play that 5-out offense. We know you're going to try and pull Gafford or Lively out of their safe spot defensively and out of that help side defense spot and make them have to be perimeter defenders against Al Horford having to shoot the 3, or you're going to pull them out the paint. But at the same time, you got to play physical. The refs will I hope they establish that early, what type of series. And I hope whatever you establish in game 1, you carry on for an entire series. Yep. So either you're going to let them play or you don't. But call it either way. If it's going to be ticky-tack fouls on both sides, that's fine. As long as it's just that's going to be the way the series is. But I think they just got to play physical. There's got to be a point in time in the game when, like, if Boston's up 4, Jason Tatum just got to drop his shoulder, be physical, and score the next 6 to 8 points and take that lead to 12 and then start kind of playing a little more comfortable. If they could physically beat up on Dallas, I think they'll win. But I don't know if they can physically beat up on Dallas because I haven't seen them physically beat up on any team in Eastern Conference so far. And like the only team that
they're all beat up. Every team they played was all beat up, so there's nothing to beat up.
The only team that they played that would match them physically was that should overpower them physically was Miami in the first round. Even without Jimmy Butler, you just as a team, Miami is more physical than Boston. That's what it is. They avoided the other team that would have out physicaled them when they lost in 7 in the New York Knicks. I said the Knicks would give them a physical series, even if they lost in 5 or 6 or would have got swept. They would have beat up on the Celtics and they wouldn't have came into the finals looking the same. And now, like they were getting beat up. I mean, they were getting bullied at points in the game by the Pacers. Come on, man. The Pacers have been known as like the most high-powered finesse offense, non-physical team in the league this entire year. Like nothing has been physical about them. Miles Turner is not a physical player. Pascal Siakam is not a physical player. And so they were able to get with you and sometimes out-physical you. And that's when they found themselves close and have an opportunity to win the game. They just couldn't capitalize it because Boston is so much better. Boston's not going to be so much better than Dallas in this series. Are they the better team? Sure. But they are not going to be so much better for the simple fact Luka and Kyrie is over on the other side.
I just want to say, starting the playoffs, I would have said Boston is definitely the better team. But, like, I'm willing to give credit for Dallas. They have grown as a team, and their players have literally gotten – we see this all the time. We saw Giannis do this to the extreme, 3 or 4 years ago, to where we watched him in one half of basketball become a better basketball player. Like, Goddard is a legit great basketball player at this second. Like, at this second, like, he's going to – punish Boston down low. Like, we've watched Dallas become a better team. Like, this isn't the same Dallas team that started the series. Until Mo Murphy came along, this team did, really, they would, they had a hard fought victory, series versus OKC and all that. And then all of a sudden they became a bunch of MFers, man. And now it's like, they kind of know who they are. And once you know who you are as a team, Boston doesn't know who they are. You know why? Because they haven't had to. It's not their fault. They were so good. The East, just everything was staggered. They did not. Best thing happened to Boston, they didn't have to put up with Jimmy Butler for whether it would have been 4 games, 5 games, 6 games. They didn't have to put up with him. So they got through that one. You know what I mean? They get through the next round. They get through the next round. But like Mo said, they're not bruised. You know what I mean? They're not playing on like they're not quote unquote battle tested, as much as I hate to say some cliches like that.
I actually think the
I think
opposite.
game one is a walkthrough for the Mavs, and then the series starts. That's my prediction.
I actually think the opposite. I actually think Boston is battle tested because they have been
You
through
think
this
so?
story. And I think, yeah,
Over the years, you're giving
over the
credit
years,
for,
and I think and it's crazy to think, but I'm actually impressed with kind of what they did because we kept, they had some games where they let go near the Miami game too, but Miami, they shot the best they ever did in a playoffs game. Like in Miami, that was the game plan. Like we're just gonna shoot it, and if we miss, we miss. But if we make them, that's the only way chance we win. And then what happened after that? They absolutely destroyed Miami. 3 more games. Same thing in the next series, and in the next series. So I just think this was their goal. Their goal was to get to the finals. All right. So they got cleared. Obviously, they had a path that was an easy path. But you know what? They were the number 1 seed. Number 1 seeds usually get enough. Maybe not to this extent, but they got there. Like, because if they have lost before this, we would have killed them. So we got to give them credit for taking care of business. Like they took.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
We got it. They took care of business, and their goal is
none of this is their fault, by the way.
Exactly.
I've said that all year. Being good is not your fault.
Yeah.
Like you
get to the finals. We're here now. We've been through this. We were down 3-0. We came back 3-0. Yeah, we lost games, but we've been battle tested. We played against the Warriors. So yes,
they got Drew Holiday now. They got Drew.
And we got guys and all that. Jason, like he's rebounded the heck out of the ball. I know he's not fish. Jaylen Brown's emerged. Like he's gotten better. Like we trusting some younger guys, all that. So like I think they're more prepared. I think they're more, and I and one stat I saw but today when there's a very, very underrated stat. Dallas and especially Luka, they love the corner 3. They shoot the most corner 3s in the league. And Luka, most of his passes are to the either side, either corner and all that. The Boston Celtics are the best corner defensive team in the NBA. So, and because they play the passing lanes really well, obviously with Drew, Jaylen, they got a bunch of long arm guys and all that. So they close out really well and all that. So to me, that was the one stat that I really like. For Dallas to win, they got to try to find they kind of can't do what they've done all playoff long against some of these teams. They kind of got to play a little bit different. So how does Luka attack? Because the way he's attacked is not going to work like it was against all these other teams and all that. So that to me is that was a very interesting stat that I saw.
Let me tell you what you're going to see a lot. You want me to tell you what Luka you're going to see in this series, and whether it's good enough to win the championship or not, you're going to see game 5 from Minnesota, Luka, this entire series. I think that's what it's going to take for them to win. I don't know. We could talk about all the role players we want. And like for Dallas, I think it's Luka and it's Kyrie. And it's mainly Luka. And if he could just go out there and put his head down and do what he did to Minnesota in game 5 consistently to Boston, and I'm not that the result won't be a 40-point. We're up 40 at any point in the time because Tatum could go get his own bucket and Jaylen Brown. There's a lot of factors in play for Boston. But if Luka can do that, you change the way Boston has to now play defense because now they have to have an answer for that. They are expected to have it. They in their game plan right now, they have answers to prevent that. But if it is not prevented, they now have to come up with answers on how to stop that. And I'm just saying, if Luka comes out like that, and that's this Luka we get, and he has been banged up, but he gets a week like that. This Dallas team gets a week off too. Like, so they do get time to be healthy. Luka gets time to get a little bit healthier and get up off his feet and be prepared for a 6-7 game series, I think. So I could see, Luka just really this is where legends are made. And like, this is a possibility. If Dallas wins, it's probably because the legend of Luka continues. And it's unexplainable what he did in the finals. You might walk away and say Boston was the better team. They outplayed Dallas for 3.5 quarters in almost every single game. But what Luka was able to do is unexplainable. And sometimes when legends walk into a sport and are able to do that, it is unexplainable. You can tell me everything you want about Michael Jordan, but half the stuff he did, there's just no explanation for it. It's just he could do stuff that everybody else just couldn't. and Kobe and LeBron and Tom Brady and all these guys, all these all-time. When you watch them, they just do something that they just have something. It's not explainable. You have to see it. Even when you watch it, you can't explain it. I think Luka would have to do that in this series in order to win. But if he does, I would not be surprised because that's what legends do. They just do stuff that you can't explain. And the result usually is in their favor when they're legendary.
Yeah. No, my biggest thing about Boston is I'm obviously leaning Mavericks because of everything I've said. But I agree with everything Chris said. But here's my problem with Boston. So far, they have to do something for at least 4 games that have been waiting on them to do for like years. Like I know it's in them, and I know they can do it. And I know Boston at their best, at their absolute best, blows anybody's doors off. But I have yet to see that. And like every time I'm like, oh, here it comes. The next thing you know, it's step back threes, and Tatum starts disappearing, and Jalen and Tatum are just watching each other, and they start taking turns. Everybody knows the whole deal with Boston. Like you can ask their fans, you can ask anybody. So for me to believe Boston's going to win it has to be like, yeah, if the Boston that I've been waiting on shows up for 4 games, they'll win it. But they haven't shown up yet, as to where at least I've seen the Mavs show up. Like that team, I've seen that version of the team show up. Now, whether that's because of competition or whatever, and it's recency bias, that's for sure. Like we just watched the Mavs be like, oh, okay, they can beat anybody right now. We said that same thing about Minnesota, and they got washed. So 2 weeks ago, we were like, Minnesota's beating everybody, and they're not even in the finals. So like, I get it, but I'm just saying, like, at this point, I'm like, you got to show me, Celtics. Like I've been standing up for you for years, be like, oh, here it comes. Here's the Tatum game. And then, I watched, like, again, that game 7 last year versus Miami just sticks with me. I can't get past it. The finals the year before, it just sticks with me. And I know that's crazy to be like, you're in the finals and I'm holding that against you, but like, it's a real thing. Like, I don't know what to say. Like,
it's a different.
And I know Luka hasn't even been there. That's crazy to say. Like, Luka's getting credit because he hasn't been there and lost. Like, I know it's dumb of me to say, but I just need the Celtics. As soon as the Celtics do it, as soon as they show up and do it, I'll be like, man, I'm wrong. This is it. This is a machine. They're going to sweep this team. But we just haven't seen that.
That's why
look at the shot charts on the Celtics sometimes. It's disgusting, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, and this is why the X factors, I know when people mention X factors, we tend to go to like role players. People will say like, oh, is it Daniel Gafford? Is it Derek Lively? Is it Derek White? Is it Drew Holiday? The X factors are simple. It's Luka Doncic and it's Jason Tatum. Because if Luka is Luka, like he showed in Game 5 against Minnesota, then Boston has a tough job. But if Jason Tatum is the Jason Tatum that we know he can be, 35, 12, and 6, then that's going to be tough because Dallas doesn't have
overtime. What was it? Was it Game 3 or Game 4 overtime? Jason Tatum,
yeah,
where he played like shit for 4 quarters and then was like, okay, this is over, and scored like 8 points in a minute or whatever, and it was over. Like, if you give me that Tatum for 40 minutes, like, okay, I'm in.
Yeah. And I think Tatum's going to have a good series. I think
I want him to.
I think he's going to have a good series. I think he's going to be aggressive. I think he's going to be more aggressive because now that Kristaps here, he's going to have, he's going to have more space. He's going to be able to kick out more and all that. So I think we're going to have a good Jason Tatum series. And Dallas doesn't they don't have guys that can really handle
I'm overlooking the Porzingis thing because I just keep like, I need to see it. It's another one of those.
He hasn't played.
If you promise me right now he's going to be healthy for the series, I would look at it a whole different way. I'm just kind of writing it off at this point. It's not his fault.
To count on a guy like, because everybody's talking about like Kristaps returning, and like you said, if he's healthy, yes, the impact but we're assuming like you're throwing a guy who basically has missed the entire playoffs, and you're like, yeah, we need you to have the effect that you should have when healthy and ready to go.
Yeah.
As soon as you return in the NBA Finals, which you've never played in, while you have other guys like Al Horford, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday. Like, these guys have played in the NBA Finals, have won championships or played for championships. Drew Holiday was able to win one. These guys have played for one. And so Kristaps is coming in against an old team, playing in first time appearance in the finals, and you're coming off an injury and expected to have that impact because a lot of people think you'll be the difference in how Boston could possibly.
There's motivation too for him too. There is motivation for him too. This is his
Can we stop that? Can we stop that? I'm gonna let the world know now. And I've dove in enough in having enough conversations with these people that have now newly interacted with me covering the Mavericks. I am here to tell you, nobody in Dallas gives a damn about Kristaps coming back. I can tell you that now. Like,
no, it has nothing to do with that. It's the other way. It's him. He feels like he got slighted by them. Like, no, you don't fit. He was a bad fit. Wasn't going to work with Luka, and
he quit.
And
then he quit. Like, so, and admitted it. Like, he's talked about the fact, I quit on him in the playoffs. But like, realistically, like the whole, well, Kyrie, like we know Boston fans care about Kyrie coming back to Boston. Like, he is going to get booed. He is going to get like just verbally assaulted in the Garden for game 1 and 2. It's going to happen.
Boston Garden, not the Garden.
The Boston Garden. He's going to get verbally assaulted.
That's great. It's not not even the Boston Garden. It's the fucking Fleet Center.
Yeah.
Let's just be clear. Like, it ain't the same.
It's not disrespect the Garden.
They used to smoke. They used to smoke in the Boston Garden.
Yeah.
Well, at least the Boston Garden.
They did a lot of things in Boston that,
like they're going to verbally assault Kyrie Irving. And
let's talk a little bit like
crazy.
Let's talk a little bit more, like just real quick. I'm very interested in just the overall matchup. I think this is one of the, like, I thought about it the other day, and as far as like NBA as a whole moving forward, the storylines, how much people care. I think this is a fantastic matchup because here's what I like about it. You actually got 4 superstars in this game. You got 4 emotional people in this game. You got 2 teams that everybody knows. You got 2 teams that people talk about. You got fan bases that care. Both cities show up for their team and go
good markets.
2 great markets. They go crazy on the home courts. You got young guys. So like when this is over, neither one of them's done. This ain't a swan song for anybody. Like, Luka ain't 37 going out the door. Like, Tatum's, like, these guys are young. They can do it year after year. And it's also not like, all the old heads are gone. Durant, LeBron, all these dudes are gone. Like but you also have dudes in this game that have been there. Drew's been there. Tatum's been there. Doncic has played a lot of, playoff games. Like, this isn't like a bunch of fresh faces. Like, we don't know what's going on. This ain't Denver last year. You know what I mean? Like, these are guys that have played a lot of basketball in their life. And a lot of them, I think Tatum's up to, like, his playoff game his resume is crazy at his age. However, like 100 games and everything. So like these dudes have played a ton of basketball. Doncic been playing professional basketball since he was like 16. Like, I think these storylines are great. Here's the thing, like, you're gonna have Boston. They're gonna hate Luka and love Luka at the same time, if you know what I'm talking about. Like, at the same time, they're gonna hate and love him. Tatum, it has everything on the line, everything on his shoulders. Brown, the highest paid player in the NBA. Like, if he don't show up, like, you can throw that into the storyline, each morning after the games. Like, I think the storylines are great. I think the matchup's great. The color schemes are great. You know what I mean? Like, just contrasting colors looks good. Luke is going to go into Boston and be cussing out the fans. They're going to be throwing shit at him. Like, I think to me, this is, I sincerely believe this is one of the greatest finals matchups as far as like overall that I've seen in my lifetime. I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah. And I think giving us Luka versus Tatum is like a major factor. Like, these are the guys that, like, we're trying to find the face of the league, and like, we're also trying to find the next American-born player to be the face of the league.
Yep.
And
don't forget that part.
Away from, the Europeans, the Jokic, or the overseas guys, period. The Jokic's, the Giannis, the Luka, the Embiids, the guys who have been winning, like those 3 of the 4 have won MVP in the past 3-4 years. Like, they've been the MVP winners. Luka's been the favorite to win MVP entering every season the past 3 years, it seems like. I think after this year, him finally reaching the finals, I think he'll get the respect from the voters. I wouldn't be surprised if Luka won MVP next year during the regular season.
Well, he should have won it this year, so.
I mean, yeah, but just saying, like, I think now
he should have won it this year.
But they were, they treated Luka like the guy that, he should have more success than he's had. So now that he's in the NBA Finals, you'll be able to promote him as a true.
Well, they'll have a new narrative next year, so he'll go to SGA, and it's all narrative.
Oh, he's a vehicle. He is a vehicle. I love everything about it. I love the swearing. I love the clutch your pearls. Like all of these things. Like, here's a question I wanted to pose all week. I know we got off track here, but I got to ask this question: is Luka really like a white basketball player?
No.
Like, I know he's pale,
No,
but I don't really.
physically,
I don't think.
physically, yes, but no.
But I don't think the whites have clung on to Luka. Like, I think Luka's. I think Luka's like one of us. Like, I don't feel like Luka's like Dellavedova. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, he's not like who's homie from who used to play for Hornets and stuff. Hey, Gordon Hayward. He's not that.
no, he
type.
ain't Gordon Hayward. Like, Luka's been
Yeah.
like Luka came up in the culture.
He
Like,
a little
Luka's
Well, he's been playing pro ball. Like, remember, like he played against remember that they showed like that preseason game he was with for Real Madrid. He's 16. He's playing against Westbrook and KD. Like he's been in the
Luka's
been hooping
a maniac.
He's been hooping for a long time.
Like people forget, like, okay, you hear overseas, and so you just automatically think like we think about the Jokic's and Lukas and Embiid's, but like when you go and play overseas basketball, there are a lot of Black American born players that didn't make it to the NBA that are over there. So he's been around them
teammates.
Like they're your teammate. He's been around them. He started getting looked at like 12 years old professionally. He started playing when he was like, he got drafted or playing when he was like 14, 15. Finally was like a starting guard and the guy at 16. But while he was 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, he's around 25, 26, 27, 28-year-old American Black players that are playing overseas. So like he has been around the culture. Just because Luka from overseas and not from, one of the hoods in America, like some of his teammates, probably some of his good friends and mentors when he was younger were probably Black American players from
I agree.
overseas.
Like he just everything about him. I'm like, no, this dude's like, I don't know. He's a true basketball player. And I'm not even saying that doesn't mean you can't be irritating, can't be annoying, you can't be hated, but like, he's just one of those dudes. You know what I mean? Like he's I don't know. Let's put it this way. If I like him, he passes the test. That's all I'm saying.
I remember watching him. This is probably like when I first really got into like watching, prospects and stuff. And someone had told me, yo, you have to watch this kid, Luka. And I'm like overseas, and this is like kind of when the overseas they're starting to like rebrand themselves. They're now like you're not afraid to take them, but there was still some hesitancy, but there was like they were starting to switch it over. And I remember watching. I'm like, oh, he don't play like a white person. Like he has a little bit different flair to him. And then I saw
he's
the
a dream
OKC,
team
like,
baby.
Okay, this kid is different.
Baby.
Yeah, like I remember saying like, all right. I remember it was 8-1, but I was like, it should be Bagley and it should be Luka 1-2. And I was a big Bagley guy, and I thought it should be Bagley 1 and it should be Luka 2 to Sacramento, and then Sacramento passed up on him, and then Dallas straight up. But I remember thinking, okay, this kid's different. And then I remember people like, oh, he's not athletic, and that was like when we were really like big on like everyone had to be an athlete or else you're never gonna make it. And then he kind of low key changed that, where like we don't just focus on
athleticism. Thing though, like
we kind of look at like, are you just skilled? And he was really skilled, and like
he's pretty athletic. I mean, that dude.
I don't know about that, but he just knows how to pace himself. He knows how to use his body because he's 6'8", 240.
He's a big dude.
He just knows how to get. It's like Jokic. Jokic knows how to use his body, knows how to get to the right spots and all that. Same thing with Luka. Luka knows how to, especially when you have the ball in his hand, he just knows his spots. And he's just such a smart player and just knows. And he's like a good quarterback too. Like he just knows the spots and all that. He can read.
I think that's a good comparison.
Coverages and all that.
He's a great quarterback. Like he threw that lob the other night when he was falling on his face. Oh
yeah, to Gafford.
I'm like, this dude's just. But he makes like. It reminds that game.
He's LeBron James, just not athletic. Just not.
He
athletic.
reminds me of LeBron sometimes, to where I'm like his teammates now trust that like if they get in the right position, like he'll make them look better. And that's what Luka does. I mean, we constantly talk about Joker and all the credit that we give him for making these teammates better. Like Luka is a great teammate. Like they're like, hey, if you're on fire, man, shoot it. But like, I know if you pass it, like I'm going to be wide open. That's on me. It's going to be on me if you pass it. Very, very LeBron. So I've already compared him to Kobe. I've compared him to LeBron, but like that's what this dude has done in this playoffs. What I need to see in the finals, and he's going to be forced to. He's going to have to play a little more defense. And again, I'm not saying he can't, but I'm just saying he's going to have to. Now, that also wears you out on the offensive end. You know, I mean, if you got dudes driving into you, trying to get cheap fouls on you, trying to get knees in your thighs,
that's what I'm worried about.
Whatever, is Luka going to have the energy on the offensive end that he did? He didn't have to do shit in Minnesota. Like there was nobody on that court that was pushing him. They made everybody else try to take Ant out of it, like them other dudes. So I'm curious to see, like, but here's again, this goes back real quick to Boston. They don't make teams do that. They tend to let teams off the hook. They let Indiana off the hook. They could have got greedy against Indiana and won them every game 97-80 easily, but they don't do that. Can they do that?
But they didn't need, but they didn't need to, and they're so much better than Indiana that they didn't need to.
We keep saying like we can't bat our eye that Nembhard was giving them 30. Like at the same time, like I do get we are.
Yeah, they also made Nembhard have bad turnovers in late games. We have to put we tend to focus on the bad, and that's the problem we have.
Nembhard, this is in late situations. You're not the mistakes that they were able to make Nembhard make is because even though he was giving them 30, it's still Nembhard at the end of the day. And so when we buckle up and do what we're supposed to do, we're going to make Nembhard look like Nembhard when we need to late in the games to win this game. The thing about it is he still was giving them 30. The difference is you can't just turn and make Luka have all these crazy turnovers and become the offensive player that you need him to be to make you at an advantage defensively, because this is Luka, not Nembhard. Like, we can't bat eyes at the fact Jalen Brunson would have gave them 40 a night. If the Knicks had won Game 7, Jalen Brunson was going to give these guys 40 a night, whether it was in wins or losses, because
he wasn't going to play anyway because he broke his hand. So.
Yeah, he did break his hand.
It didn't matter.
They did avoid that, but like,
yeah, but I don't like the whole woulda, coulda. Like the Knicks didn't win, so it doesn't really matter and all that. Like,
well, what I'm saying is that's what we keep doing. We keep doing with Boston is what they can do.
But this is what I'm trying to say is that they played down the competition, but now they see they know this is what guys. This is what they've been planning for all season. Like we've seen this with teams like we're like San Antonio when they like when San Antonio lost to Miami and when Ray Allen hit the shot, like their only focus was we don't give a crap about anything. Our goal is to get back to the finals and then take care of business and all that. And this is what Boston is. And I'm not trying to defend Boston. I don't care if they win or like it doesn't matter.
No,
I'm just saying I
like
believe that their focus is this is it.
Right.
Like, okay. We're going to ramp up for this series because this is what it doesn't matter how we got here. We're here. We're playing Dallas. It doesn't matter what we did against Indiana. We beat them in 4. Regardless, at the end of the day, we swept them. Regardless of what we did against Miami, we beat them in 5. Regardless of what we played out, we beat them in 5.
Cleveland.
So it doesn't matter. Cleveland, right? We beat them in 5. We beat the team. We beat them because if we had lost, you can kill us. But we didn't. We got to the finals. We are going to buckle up and we're going to play. Yes, Luka Nembhard did he had him a couple moments, but guess what? In crunch time, we made him look like a second-round pick that he is and all that. Yes, Luke, we're gonna do everything. We know we're gonna buckle up. We got Kristaps. Even if he plays 10 minutes, we are the better team. They're gonna buckle up. I just something I believe. I just feel like they get ready for this.
Right,
they've been waiting all year for this, and this is their moment. I can't stand Boston. I just nothing for me to.
We know.
I hope they lose. It kills me to say. It's just what as a basketball fan.
Chris, before you're done, let's spin into this. We'll get past the finals. Let's go around and do our predictions, and we'll move on to another subject because
we'll close out with Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, we'll close out with Caitlin Clark.
This series, I'm gonna.
That was a great conversation, but I could do this for 3 hours.
Boston in 6.
I'm taking
a part of me wants to say Boston in 5, to be honest, because I actually think Boston.
Just say it.
Boston in 5.
I'm taking Mavs in 6. Got to. Don't care. It's bias. It's unexplained. I got to take the Mavs in 6. I'm
taking Mavs culture.
That's all it is. Like, no, I don't care whether you think. Yeah, if you think Boston gonna sweep them and Mo, you're an idiot. The Mavs at 6. That's cool. Listen, I'm obligated to ride this way, baby. Mavs in 6. Luka Doncic bringing one back to the city, man. I'm right.
I'm riding the Mo Murphy. I'm riding the Mo Murphy bandwagon. I think it's Dallas in 5.
Woo!
But I think that Boston is in shambles afterwards. I think that Luka is out to personally ruin the city of Boston and bring it to its knees, and they have a lot of questions to answer afterwards. That's all. If you just feel right now,
if you are right though, and Boston loses this series in 5,
it's gonna be a mess.
You know how many people are gonna be happy though?
I'm all for it. I'm all for it because it just I love chaos.
I know. I'm with you, Chris. I'm not even gonna get. Here's the thing: if Boston wins, I'm not even gonna be mad. I'm be like, hey, Tatum, shut me up. I love it. Going into next season, Tatum as a champion, Boston as a champion makes the NBA season. I do not care. I
feel like every superstar has to lose their first champion. It feels like every superstar has to lose their first championship. LeBron did it. Tatum has already lost
except Jordan.
Championship.
Yeah, Jordan didn't. I mean, there's plenty of guys who didn't lose their first time though. Jordan,
Magic didn't.
D-Wade won it the first time he got there. So there's plenty of guys. There's enough guys who have gotten there to say, you know what? But then, you look at D-Wade and you'd be like, well, D-Wade had won that one early. If the Heatles never exist, maybe D-Wade was the guy who got one early and would have never got one again. So it's that instance too, where he won one early and you could maybe never win one again. Winning multiple championships is not easy, but yeah, obligation. I got to go Mavs in 6.
All right. I like it.
And that all week. Everywhere, everybody I talk to, Mavs in 6, Mavs in 6, Mavs in 6.
So speaking of white basketball players,
Caitlin,
you take it from here, Mo.
Hey, Caitlin Clark. I mean, bro, she's the biggest story in basketball right now. Really, period. Just basketball, period. Basketball fans care, whether it's positive or negative. There's care about Caitlin Clark, clearly. I mean, they're talking. Come on, man. They're weighing on Caitlin Clark on The View, dog. When is The View ever talked about sports? Joy Behar. Get Joy Behar's opinion on basketball. And people are going to say, and I understand that people are going to say, there's been plenty of superstars. There's been plenty of Hall of Fame women basketball players. 100%. I know that. I grew up a hooper. I love basketball. Diana Taurasi was one of my favorite women players when I was a kid. She's been in the league for 20 years. She was in the league. I was 9 years old when she entered the league.
Diana Taurasi's 42, by the way.
So that's what I'm saying. She's been in the league for I understand the stars. But what happened is the WNBA was coming off a dry spell. There was a point in time, and every league goes through it. There's a couple years where it just seems like, how do we replace whatever we had going on that put it at its peak? The NBA is trying to prepare for post-LeBron era. The NFL was like, man, we don't have a Brady, but as Brady's about to exit, Mahomes is coming. So sometimes you're able to replace it before that person needs to be replaced, and sometimes you're scrounging around for the replacement. I think the WNBA, when Maya Moore left and Candace Parker was getting older, and some of the players that connected people my age to the WNBA for so long through women's college basketball, and these girls being high school All-Americans that Candace Parker contributed to way back in the day when she was an All-American. She had all of us watching the women's All-American game because of Candace Parker. Then she goes to Tennessee and has everybody watching. Casual fans that could care less are watching Tennessee women's basketball. Pat Summitt, Candace Parker, it doesn't get any better than that. You come through a dry spell. Women's college basketball hits a peak again with South Carolina women's, LSU women's, and Caitlin Clark. I think in UConn, those 4 factors, the past 3 years, those are the 4 factors that are the reason why everybody gives 2 craps about, really, really the care is at an all-time high for women's basketball right now. Those 4. Now you're ranking them of importance. The problem is Caitlin Clark is number 1 on that list, and people have a problem with it because she didn't win a championship in college. So how is she so much focused when she didn't win a championship? But Steph Curry didn't win a championship at Davidson, and I swear to God, everybody sat in front of their TV during the NCAA tournament to watch Davidson.
Zion didn't win a championship.
Exactly. But it's okay. Guys don't win championships, but their play style just attracts us, and it gets us to watch. And it doesn't matter whether they win a championship or not in college. So that was Caitlin Clark. But while that was happening, you had you had Dawn Staley in South Carolina was just dominating everybody through the regular season and walking through undefeated and winning a championship. Then you had LSU and Angel Reese come in. So now the charge is led by Caitlin Clark. She's the face of this transformation of like the highest viewership ever, but they have a problem with it because it's a what about me attitude. And like, instead of just embracing the star and rocking with them and creating your brand off of them, like people did back in the day when LeBron entered entered the NBA, it seemed like, what is the NBA going to do? And then LeBron comes along. So it's all the same stuff. It's just the fact that Caitlin Clark's doing it. They don't love it. They hate her for some reason. And the bullying on the court, I don't necessarily care about that. Some of the cheap shots is crap, whatever, but you see it in men's basketball. So it's not, I don't necessarily care about that, but you could tell some of it comes from a malicious place. But like, Caitlin Clark's a superstar. She's like the face of what's going on right now, and people hate it because like she hasn't proven herself. But sometimes there's just those special players that get the certain demographic of fans, no matter what, like that wouldn't pay attention, but they love that style of play. And let's be honest, Stephen Curry got everybody to watch the NBA and watch the Golden State Warriors. We didn't care much about the Warriors. They weren't a brand until Steph Curry got there. Now they're one of the three most expensive franchises in sports, period.
They're one of the worst franchises in the NBA.
And now they're one of the three most expensive
they're worth 10 times more than when he got there. They're worth 10 times more than when Steph got there.
He got them a new arena. It's like when Peyton Manning got them.
What's wrong with people hate Caitlin Clark, but like the brand of women's basketball,
she's going to get them more paid. Listen, she's going to get them more paid. She got them charter flights, right? They got their own planes now, right? Sold out buildings. And guess what? They're on Bleacher Report. They're on Ball is Life. They're being talked about.
I understand.
I don't know who the WNBA commissioner is, but she has to be like, this is great. I love it. I love it. We're getting buzz.
And they love all the talk about the commissioner. And again, I just want to be clear. None of this is Caitlin's fault. All she did was go out and play basketball her entire life and be a really good college basketball player. But the animosity is going to happen. And I understand the other side of it too, because these people are like, man, like I'm a person that gets really offended when somebody insinuates that like anything I have or did or whatever is because of something else. Whether that's right or wrong doesn't matter. I'm just that mentality. So I can't imagine these basketball players like Diana Taurasi, who has carried the league, helped carry the league on her back for 20 years, and they're like, oh man, you all got charter flights because of Caitlin. I would be like, you know what? Here's what Diana Taurasi would say, I'll ride a bike to the fucking game and I will smoke. Like, that's the mentality of the athlete. Like, you can't blame these athletes for being like, man, I don't need that fucking charter flight. I don't need that. I don't like that. We're all like that. Like, they're all like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I see that side of it. Like, it doesn't mean that it's wrong for the eyeballs that she's bringing. And whatever those eyeballs are saying or thinking, that's on them. That's not Caitlin's fault. You get a bunch of dumbass men that come to this and don't know what they're watching and don't know what they're saying and going off it's still eyeballs. Like, I'm with you. The WNBA commissioner is like, whatever, I'll take it all.
And that's why they don't
like this is
like Adam
like
Silver.
Trust me, in the 80s, like y'all in the 80s, the NBA, let me tell you this, what it boiled down to. Like, everybody can say Magic Bird and all the shit. Nope. It was black versus white. That's how the NBA was marketed in the 80s. They're like, whatever gets people to hate or not hate or to root, we do not. It was, I'm telling you, they tried to start a race war just because they wanted people to watch basketball. They didn't care why. This is sort of like this. This isn't all race, but it's still like pitting her against everybody. It's like, whatever, as long as they watch. Yeah,
and I think she's the talent to, like, the thing is, she has the talent though. Like, she's only a rookie. And what we were talking about this.
She's a rookie that had to start playing professional basketball a month out of college.
I'm glad. That's exactly what I was gonna say was we look at, like, because coming out of college football, like, the draft happens in April. Your season ended back in December, January. You get drafted in April. You show up to the team in the summertime, and then so you have like 8 months between your last game that you played in college and your first game that you play in the NFL. You have 8 months. Women come out of school, they finish the season, they get drafted a week and a half, 2 weeks later, and then they're in training camp 3 days after they get drafted. They're reporting to the city that they're obligated to be in, and they're starting practice, and the regular season games are tipping off a month later. So, like, the turnaround for a college athlete to even physically get ready for professional basketball. It's not there. A college football player, an NBA player, they got 6, 7, 8 months to come out of college, physically get ready for the start of your career. And then you develop over the years. These women have a month. Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, Camila Cardoso, all these girls, Cameron Brink, had a month to prepare physically, mentally, and everything.
And to be the stars, of the league.
And to do what it takes to be a professional athlete. So all of them, whether they came out swinging or not, deserve some grace, including Caitlin Clark, for the simple fact they just were in college 2 months ago. They were attending classes in college 2 months ago before they were playing professional basketball. They don't have the 8-month turnaround that we're accustomed to in men's sports. So we expect some of these guys to be physically ready. And so if you need to get a little bit bigger heading into the NFL, if you don't do that, well, you had 8 months to do it. What's going on? You're like, Caitlin Clark need to be a little bit stronger. Maybe she's just not strong enough. Well, she only had a month. Like, she's developing her strength and accustomed to professional sports as she's going as well, but she only had a month to be able to do it. So I think with Caitlin Clark, like, it's like, a lot of it's hate. A lot of it's coming from a malicious place, but like at the end of the day, the people who have been covering the W, you have to accept it because this is what you wanted. You wanted more eyes. Let's be honest. The more eyes that are on the sport, the more toxic it is. Here's what on Sunday. This is what the NBA looks like all the time. This is what college football looks like on a Saturday. The more eyes you get, the more toxic it's going to be because you have more dumbass fans watching than you do who actually know and understand what they're watching. And that's just part of being a fanatic. The more fanatics you have, the more toxic the environment is. And the W just wasn't ready for it. The people who are covering it weren't ready for the toxicity. And the people who are bringing the toxicity don't even know what they're watching.
And so, can I go to a couple quick points that Jeff has been trying to tell everybody for years? Y'all see what it looks like now when all they do is show you a few plays. Like right now, everybody thinks that Caitlin Clark is getting mugged every game. This is what I tried to tell you about. This is what I tried to tell you about the 80s NBA for years. Like they show you 3 plays a game. You're like, oh my God, they're trying to kill her. Like, no, they ain't. Like, that's just what you see. Like, you got 3 highlights a game. Watch the game. But again, to what Mo said, it brings eyeballs. It brings a lot of negative stuff. But if 10% of those eyeballs start catching the good stuff and they're like, man, Cardoso's awesome. Man, like Taurasi, like what a veteran. Like, I want to know more. Like, if let's say somebody doesn't know who Taurasi is, like comes to this game and they're like, I'm going to look this up. And they're like, wow, that's a legend. Like, it's like me when I was a young kid and I was watching, I was like, man, who's this guy in the All-Star game named Dr. J? Like, I'm telling a true story here. Dr. J, like, that's a cool name. Then all of a sudden I'm like, my mom's like, that's Dr. J is a legend. Then now I'm like, holy shit. Like, now that I realize, I'm like, I watched, a legend. So like, I know, like, you have to bring eyeballs in, and the eyeballs, like, let's face it, TV is going to rule everything. The storylines are going to rule everything. Like, it's the sad part of it, but it's also like, this is how it's going to be. But again, I want to defend, the women that are like, I didn't need Caitlin Clark in the first place. I didn't, all this stuff. Like, it's not Caitlin's fault. It's not our team's fault. It's nobody's fault, but that's how athletes are going to be. Like, they're going to be like, you think a defensive lineman don't want to crush Caleb Williams first game of the season? You think they don't want to put that dude in the dirt and be like, oh, you think you're the next this? You think you're Mahomes? Like, they're going to stand up. They're going to point at their fingernails. Like, they're going to do everything to embarrass this guy. Like that's just how sports is made. But as a whole, what I want to give credit to is this WNBA rookie class is holding their own. Like, not only are they playing good, they're doing the part. They're walking the runway before every game, and not in a negative way. I mean, like, it's cool as fuck. Like, they come in like different outfits every night, dressed up, doing the Instagram thing. Like, I got no problem with that. You know what I mean? Like, it's not selling out. They're just being like, I look this way before the game, and then I'm going to blast your ass during the game. Like, that's all cool. So, like, I think it's been a success. I think the first, month or so, like, I think it's been like 6 weeks now of WNBA, it's been a success. I think more eyeballs are watching. I think people are lingering around a little longer, which is cool. I think they're talking about it in the morning, a little cool. We're talking about it on this show, which is cool.
And I'm
serious. They're talking about it in the morning. Like, the morning ride to work, I'm listening, and they're talking about the W, and they're talking about some of the negative stuff.
Let me tell you this.
Dallas being like they're talking about all the teams like what the Liberty are doing, you know, all these teams.
And I want to be in front of it. Jordan's coming because Juju's coming in a couple years. Yeah. That's the future.
She's Wemby.
Like Juju's the truth.
Because we heard Wemby. We heard about this guy from France a few years back, and they're like, this guy, he's on his way in a few years. And then last year it was like, he's on his way, and then now it's like, he's here.
Juju's MVP rookie year.
She walks out her freshman year, and that's what I hate. That is what I do hate about women's sports in basketball. Is like you make these girls stay 3 and 4 years. And I'm not saying like I don't think there's.
I get it though. I get it.
And that's what I was about to say. I don't think there's as many that are pro ready.
But it can change though.
The rule for like Juju is a talent that comes along that like this rule doesn't fit the mold for this athlete. And like if I'm the W, I'm sitting here like, man, we might need to fix this rule because
it's gonna change, Mo. It's gonna change.
And it needs to change instantly.
It's gonna change. She's exactly why it's gonna change.
Exactly. Because sometimes somebody just comes in and they're an exception to the rule sometimes. And sometimes you just, you know, hey, superstars aren't held to the same standard. They get away with a little more. They can do a little more. Sometimes we're like, hey, man, maybe most of these girls
in the league now
in college for 3 to 4 years. Caitlin Clark, if she wasn't ready to be a pro after her freshman year, neither was Angel Reese. Angel Reese played for a whole nother program. She transferred and became a superstar. So, like, not everybody's ready, but sometimes that one person walks along and it's like, man, damn the rules. We got to have this person. We got to have this person up in here. Like, and so I think Juju is the one. Like, if
she can get watered down in college and all, because I remember Gilbert Arenas had mentioned because he has his daughter that's going to college, and she's like, and he was talking about the whole with women, and it's like Juju can play now, she's gonna get watered down because you know how college, especially women's college, she's gonna be there for another 3 years and just go through the ringer and all that. When she's like, no, she could play now, so like. It's like when, you know, we grew up, Jeff, you grew up, all these guys used to play 3-4 years in college and all that. But all it took was that one guy to be the one and done or the kid out of high school. And that changes. And now we see all we do is one and dones, and kids used to always come out of high school and all that. Kevin Garnett, right? He was kind of like after Moses, like it took a long time before we saw another high school. And then Garnett had success. Then we saw Kobe, and then we saw Trickle,
like the Brady's and Kobe.
And then when they went back to all right, high school kids not allowed. Then we saw the infiltration of the one and dones right now on that. So like I think the W is going to be like with especially if Juju she's going to kill it next year. They're going to be like, hey, we might have to modify this.
Might be a waiver.
There might be a waiver.
I think it
might be like 2 years. I think 2 years, they'd be like, yo, 2 years. If you're good at 2 years, you can go pro. I think 2 years is perfect for.
And just in case anybody doesn't know, the WNBA is the most concentrated collection of, because it's such a small league, like everybody's a baller in this league. Like there are no
you have girls who who can really hoop and aren't on rosters because there's not enough teams, and so that's why they're trying to expand, because there's enough talent. Like
bring back the Houston Comets.
Yeah, like there's still like there's
the first 2 chips.
There's so many teams that you could make because there's so many girls that could play. We see so many hoopers out of college.
We're gonna see there's a Toronto team coming.
Yeah,
there's a Toronto team coming.
And we had before the WNBA, Columbus had 2 championships.
Was it Columbus? What was?
I think it was the shoot. I forget the last name now. But it was awesome. 2 in a row. With a look,
they used to have a lot of teams in the W and all that. But that's like they started off hot. Like they had the start. They had the Houston versus New York.
You didn't know another quick championship. The NBA. Cameron Brink owns Los Angeles. Like what a personality.
Hey, she just owns Los Angeles. Cameron Brink though. Anybody, the comment was said that Caitlin Clark's getting this love because the W or whatever, the narrative is pushing a white, straight, attractive female. And I said my rebuttal to that, to say that about Caitlin Clark is, if that was the agenda in the narrative, Cameron Brink would be the one that would be at the front line.
Yeah. She's like the Cameron Diaz type.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No. And here's the thing. Here's what I'll say.
Tall blonde.
And this is a credit to the WNBA. I wouldn't for a second know I wouldn't for a second pretend to know who's straight and who's not in the WNBA. And I mean, as a compliment. So like when they say that, I'm like, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, what I'm saying is like,
Well,
is like,
you can tell it's like who's you know
a few. You can tell
a few who they playing for, what team.
What I'm saying is they're like, I don't pretend to like distinguish.
And but you don't care either, though. Like it doesn't. Like
I don't give a shit.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
I can tell though. We know.
But you're right. No. Cameron Brink's just herself. Like she's just being herself. Like
she's been a hooper her whole life. She's been around the Curry family her whole life. So
exactly.
I think Curry's like her godfather or something like that, or the father.
She'd be her like
something like that.
He's her god brother.
God brother. Oh,
Steph's mom. Steph's
Dell is the her
his mom and her mom were college roommates. Like that's what I'm saying. Like, but like the sexuality thing of it is what it is, but also they're not running away from it anymore. Like they used to have to. They used to have to fake things, or they used to have to do this or whatever. You know,
yeah, obviously it's more.
Yeah, you couldn't promote 20 years ago. You know what I'm saying? You couldn't promote.
You couldn't do any of this.
Well, also even with women,
if you were straight in Cameron Brink, you'd be like, oh no, I can't do that because then I'll be. Or if you were gay, like, oh, I can't do that. Now they're like, man, fuck all of y'all.
Well, yeah. Well, and with women, we it's more accepted if you are,
100%.
You are, gay and all that. Where men, we're still trying to get around that, trying to figure that out. But with women, I feel like with women, it's always like, okay, it's always been more accepted than men coming out gay.
Even when it was like. When it wasn't accepted, like life-wise, it still was like morally. It was like people were like, "Well, it's a female. Like if a gay, you don't judge a gay."
So like, but also like all the women aren't gay. That was a thing when I was growing up. Like, oh no, all women athletes are gay. Like that's so dumb.
Yeah, it's silly, but like I said, the women can get away with because it's not a big deal. As
I'm just saying, like I think if
this was a men's side, we know how that goes.
Well, women are just way smarter and pretty much
my last thought on this though is well, at least for the women's part of it, is the only thing I wish with all these eyes, and God, people are gonna kill me if I say this. Don't clip this up. This is at the end of the show, so nobody might see.
We got 1:16 and 50 seconds. Walker, make sure you clip this.
Is please stop spewing the fact that it is men's responsibility to get eyes on this league, and I'm gonna tell you why. The men have handled their responsibility. You know why? Because millions of men watch they support other men. They watch the NFL. They wear their jerseys. They wear their favorite players are other men. And some people find it, men are such fans of their team and players that people find it weird that you love your fans and your team so much. So women, how about you do your job for your athletes, and it's y'all's responsibility to start wearing their jerseys, to start supporting them, to start being part of the sellout crowd, to start doing this. Like we're entertained and we are finding ways to be entertained and everything, but it is not our responsibility. Because I can tell you, if you want to start making it, well, we want men to support ours, and we get tired of it, and we be like, we're support where we're not thrown in our face that we have to support it, we'll go right back to the NBA and NFL having 10.5 million viewers every game and then not really care what goes on in the summertime. Like, I promise you, you can push away fans. You can push away all the potential male fans that you'll have by trying to say it's on us to save this sport or make sure that it grows. No, it's not. Women need to support women the way men support men, because men will die for their teams. They will die for their favorite player. They will cry if their team wins a championship. They will call off of work if their team loses. It's that serious with men. If women took supporting their athletes that serious, and hey, the freaking Super Bowl is a holiday. The women could support it and turn the WNBA into a women's holiday where the day after you might be able to go to work late because the women play. Hey, all women could come to work late because the WNBA Finals Game 7 was last night. Like, it's that type of thing for men. So we are crazy fanatics, and it can almost be borderline like homo-ish a little bit, the way we love our teams and love our players.
Jesus.
I'm sorry.
Clip that. Don Juan, clip that.
I couldn't think of the safe word. I apologize,
God
but
damn it, Mo.
people will say,
You
He
Southerners.
meant no. He misspoke. He meant Homer-ish.
yeah,
Like,
it could be Homerish.
You're like the guy in the
Yeah.
Mets who said who got misquoted. No, yeah,
No, but
Homerish.
it is though one of those like, bro, people find it so weird how fascinated we could be with sports as men, but it's like that's just what we do. And so if women embrace that same mentality for women's sports, that I don't know why I love the women's game so much. I don't know why this is my favorite player. I don't know why I'm stressed out because my team is down by 2 with 3 minutes left. I just am, and it's unexplainable. you take that same mentality as a woman and support them. Like, it's just, I hate the fact that the responsibility falls on the men all the time for we have to support this. And the WNBA only grows as more male fans become attracted to the sport. So like women can also support the same way. There's probably more women in the world than men anyway. So
I don't know what you're talking about, Mo. I'm pretty casual. Like, I don't, if my team wins, loses, I don't care.
Yeah. I bet, Jeff. I bet.
No, I see your point. There's
it's just one of those, like, it's not necessarily, don't put it on us. Like, if I say after game 5, dang, there's no basketball for a week, don't throw it in my face. Well, there's women's basketball. Like, for me, maybe, and I didn't say that. I'm just saying I've seen a lot of people say there's no basketball for a week. And it's like, well, the WNBA is going on. How come you aren't watching the WNBA? Like, okay, I could say there's no sports on for a week after waiting for the NBA finals. In baseball, fans aren't saying, well, you got the MLB. Water polo fans aren't trying to sell me on water polo. The freaking softball championships going on, the conference, and they're not telling us.
I'm watching some softball.
Yo, I will watch the shit out of some college softball.
I'm just saying, college softball fans aren't saying, oh, I can't believe you just said there's no sports on until game 1 of the NBA finals. You got the college like other sports ain't throwing it. Well, what about us? So like, you could just kind of tone it down on that. That's
basically it's the whole soccer thing that we've heard for decades.
Essentially, yeah. Like soccer they've been that until the WNBA. Like they've been that. What about us? We watch soccer, but it's like, you know what? Y'all have the rest of the world's interest. Honestly, it's not up to Americans.
Yeah, they got a bunch of whole continents that That's,
y'all got the rest of the world. So like, it's not on us Americans to love soccer, bro. Y'all have literally every other country in the world that pays attention to soccer is their number one sport. Let us have the NBA and NFL, college basketball and college football on Saturdays, Sundays, and women's basketball. Let us have that be our main nucleus of support. And that's what we do. Like, we don't have to support soccer. We don't have to watch baseball if we don't want to. Like, it's okay to just not be a fan of the sport. But if you're not a fan of a sport that a woman plays, oh, you're misogynistic. Like, I don't watch baseball either. I don't watch MLB. So like, there's male athletes that are not entertaining when I turn on the TV. I don't watch soccer. I don't watch baseball. So if I added WNBA to the list of sports, I don't watch it. It has nothing to do with women. I just don't watch the sport. But I do watch some WNBA, but just take it for the sport. Why does it have to be a man or woman thing? Because I don't watch the MLB at all.
Speaking of WNBA, the Liberty just destroyed the Fever 104-68. And the Fever are now, I think, 1-8, I believe.
2. No, they won. They got 2 wins.
2-8, something like that. So
yeah, they won yesterday.
So Caitlin's going through her struggles and all that. I think that they lost this like the 3rd time they lost to the Liberty already, feels like. But she's gonna go through her struggles, but we have
what? Caitlin ought to really, really step things up. Just right now, demand a trade. Like, that would be some funny shit. If she just I want out of this state. Imagine growing up in Iowa and then you could go to Indiana. Like, just so you guys know, it's the same state.
Just like, yeah, it is.
Like Southern Indiana and like where she's at in Indianapolis it's basically like Columbus, but like Southern Indiana and Gary, Indiana ain't the same place. Yeah. My guess is most of Caitlin's fans are from Southern Indiana.
I would say so. It's a certain,
She's so mad. She's so mad. Cameron's out here hanging out with Connie, throwing out first pitches.
At least like what's her face? Angels in like Chicago. I know we think about.
And Caitlin Clark has to like just force a relationship with Tyrese Halliburton while being in Indiana.
T.Y. Hilton.
She has to act like she knows who Tyrese Halliburton
He's like, T.Y. who?
Yeah, like
Andrew Luck.
Andrew Luck is coming to games like
with the 7 dwarfs.
Andrew Luck.
Like, I'm sure she's wowed by the type of stars in Indiana that she runs into. Yes. Yes.
We're gonna
don't start. Nope, we're not doing this.
Yeah, I'm just saying yes. That's my answer.
We're not doing
All right,
this.
so we ended with that. We're gonna end as usual with what's on our
God.
mind. Jeff, you go first. What's on your
Did
mind?
I leave anything not on my mind?
That's what I was gonna say. I think
don't
that was
even
my what's
know.
on my mind.
Anything. It doesn't even have to be sports related. Is it anything that's just on your mind?
I had something earlier. I
pissing
don't
you
know if
off
maybe I
or
spewed it out.
that makes you happy. Anything. Positive news, negative news.
Oh
anything?
yeah. You know, hung out with the grandson this weekend.
Nice.
Played a little. I won't say pass, but like throw. Like he kind of throws the ball at you. I throw it back. He grabs it, gets excited, makes a hoop every now and then. He, claps at himself or whatever. So yeah, he's coming along. I'm trying to. I feel bad, but I'm trying to ingrain like what everything Mo described is like this sports, craziness into him. So he's starting to recognize achievements. Like, oh, I did this, made me feel good, so now I want to do it again and do it again. Or I missed, now it's a failure. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I can go on with the rest of my day until I make a hoop. So I feel like we're taking literal baby steps here. So yeah, good weekend with the nephew. Spent the night, or nephew, shoot, grandson spent the night. It was awesome. So we're getting there.
What is I always, obviously, we're all parents, but you're a grandparent. What is the difference for you for being a
my
parent
God.
and a
There's no way to
grandparent?
describe it. There's
give 'em back.
literally
Because
no
we
way
all
to
see it,
describe
right? We all know how our parents are with us and how they are. Because with my kids and my mom, how she is, they get away with murder.
Yeah.
I could say,
No,
no,
it's fine
you can't
tuning.
have that ice cream. And they go to grandma,
Yeah.
and grandma's like, mira, papi.
Yeah.
You can have it.
And
it's like,
you're
you wouldn't
you're
let me
just
do that.
fine-tuning.
If grandma did that to you, you would be pissed at grandma, but it's okay. But it's just like, it's crazy how
No, it's
like
great. Like all
it
you're
doesn't
doing is
matter like how
fine-tuning.
strict you were as a parent, but like when you become a grandparent, it's a whole like
Oh no, it's fantastic. All you're doing is fine tuning. You're like you're doing all the hard work. Like they've gave him the bedtimes. They've taught him to eat properly and all that. All I have to do is be like, I don't know, like help him put his car down a ramp. You know what I mean? Like I just have to do the little fine tuning things. It's the most amazing thing on the planet. Like whatever, like no matter what everybody tells you how great it is, it's great. It's great.
Yeah, I guess since we're on the positive tip. Yeah, well, my 3-year-old son can now dribble a basketball and pee standing up.
Oh,
Pretty proud father.
He could pee
That's
standing up. Is that
fantastic.
what you just said?
Yep.
I can't believe
Oh,
your
he
son's
was a sitting down peer.
Well, you got to teach him at first, but yeah, now they developed it out of nowhere. It was like,
it's amazing.
Buckle down and really get on him. And next thing you know, he's just, I want to pee like you, daddy. So now he stand up and pee and dribble.
That's awesome.
Daddy,
I can't believe I knew Mo before he had a son.
Hey,
before he had a son.
You know what's crazy? I think, my daughter was born by the time I met y'all. She was like a newborn. She wasn't even, she had just turned 1 when I started to kind of meeting everybody. So yeah, but like my son, the proud man thing, like he can stand up and pee and dribble a basketball, like at 3 years old.
That's pretty much. Here's what's funny.
Simultaneously.
And I said that to my wife. I'm like,
it's still like 2 hands. He'll do the 2 hands, but like he got it. My daughter got it too. My daughter could dribble a ball too. She's starting to get down to 1 hand. She really caring. I'm like, uh-oh. Don't tell me I might have 2 players.
There is nothing like when they like. Yeah, my grandson made a basket today, and I'm like, that's it. I've achieved everything.
Yeah,
like I'm winning.
Like my son will sit there and watch
about basketball now. Different.
Yeah, he wants to watch basketball now. Like if I sit there, I don't force him to do it. I've never forced him to sit there and watch games. But now, like if I'm watching basketball, he'll come in, he'll stop, he'll sit on my lap. I want to watch basketball with you, daddy. Then he'll get the ball and go on his little tight goal right next to the TV, and he'll start shooting balls. So like seeing him develop that love that everybody said I had when I was that age too, and just I'm allowing him to just do his own thing right now. Like I don't want to force sports on my kids. I don't want them to make them love it the way I do. If they do, they do. If they don't, they don't. Find your passion. I'm be passionate with you about it. But like to see both of them really take an interest, and they're taking an interest in basketball. Like my son,
because it's basketball. It's the greatest game on the planet.
Yeah, because like my son, he has it in him on his mom's side to be a football player. Like the men on those side, they're football players. But like, so to see him kind of his first interest of a sport is basketball is like, yep, that's a Murphy. Like that's how I'm looking at. That's a Murphy right there. He's just like
fantastic.
me, like his grandfather. So yeah, that's what's been on my mind. That's what I've been able to beat my chest.
We got to finish on a high note, Chris.
Yeah, no negativity.
No negativity. Oh, you don't want to hear the negativities of my weekend?
No negativity.
Nope.
No. We'll save that for Dr. Phil show. What's going on? What's positive and all that? I heard that NCAA football is a kneeling. You can kneel, and so it's good for Miami when I victory formation automatic. So when I'm Miami and I'm beating Florida State by 50, I could just automatic kneel, and we could win the game with no problem. So that was I made me happy. That did make
does your actual coach need that button?
I saw someone post that on Instagram that there was like some automatic that if you're up by a certain amount in the game, you're automatic kneel, and then they just posted the picture of Mario Cristobal next to it, and I actually chuckled. I was like, "Oh, that's actually."
They should have it once every whatever percentage of it that it was, like once every 1,000 times that it fails and the other team wins.
Still,
just to make it realistic.
It haunts me to this day and all that. But no, the NBA draft is coming, so I'm doing a lot of cool stuff with the draft. So that's pretty fun. I'm gonna post my first article on Knicks Fan TV in a few days. I'm gonna be doing some prospect profiles. Knicks got a few first rounders, so in the lab doing some stuff with the draft and all that. You know, you guys know how much I love the NBA. It kind of what
absolutely
started.
I can't wait to see who you're first. This is a big draft because everybody's like, oh, it's a terrible draft, but for guys like you, it's a great draft because you guys get to dig through it.
This is the draft that's going to make you like
somebody in this draft's going to be a superstar. Yeah, you're right. Somebody's going to make you smart.
Yeah. Because you actually have to. It's not like, oh well, Wemby. Well, you don't have to do much scouting. We know Wemby's. You know, he's the number one pick. He's going to be good and all that. Or Paolo, Chet, and all those guys. Like this draft is like, you actually have to put your thinking hat on. You actually got to do real homework and be like, okay, you got to like the first pick is like between like 4 guys. And it's like, okay, like
casually walk out of here and talk about Wemby to save your draft. You know,
like, I knew Wemby was going to be great.
But I'm clear, right? Like Ant-Man wasn't a great player coming out of college. Am I misremembering that?
He was played on a bad team, so he was like, it was like the Ben Simmons.
Yeah, but I'm saying is like it wasn't like
Markel. It wasn't a guarantee. No, he wasn't that. There was a lot of like people worried about his work ethic. Is he driven and all that? Obviously, he's shown that that's.
People were worried about whether he was even entering to play professionally the right sport. Like there was a point in time where people were like, "Bro, this dude might be a freaking NFL player that can really hoop."
That's what I'm saying.
He's built like a tight end.
But
just imagine if you drafted him.
Yeah, but you know, everybody's up in arms because you said there's probably a couple NBA players that could play. Austin Rivers said there's some NBA players that could play in the NFL, and everybody's up in arms. But like a guy who got drafted in the top 3 in the NBA, people were questioning whether he even wanted to play in the NBA, and is he an NFL player? But basketball players can go play in the NFL.
Questioning of players.
Bro, Antonio Gates didn't even play football, and he's going to the Hall of Fame in the NFL, and he was a Kent State basketball player. Yeah, stop it. So basketball players are monsters. Did you see Luka hug Kelsey?
Yeah. And like Kelsey is a physical dominant force in the league.
Kelsey's a monster.
Kelsey's like 6'5", 245, and he makes
him look small, bro. Like they
need to stop it.
Yeah, the whole NBA. Now, I'm not saying the whole entire NBA, but there's a couple.
Oh no, it's not
in the NBA that I think could go to the NFL and score a touchdown. And I think there's guys that
we can save this.
Edwards would have 2 receiving touchdowns before any player that is on the NFL roster goes in and scores 20 points in an NBA game. I think Edwards will get in the end zone twice in one game in the NFL before you ever saw any NFL player, I don't care who it is, score 20 points in an NBA game. You won't see it.
Okay, we cannot go down this road. I want to have this show.
No, I gotta go, but
just translate. Paolo would be a starter in the NFL. Mahomes would look like he would be the guy like swinging the towel on an NBA court. I'm just being serious. Like it's not, it's night and day. I think Paolo is my pick for best translation to the NFL.
I think mine might.
That dude is thick.
Mine might be Ant, just because Ant.
Well, ended at that. Well,
I think there's just more competition.
Paolo is thick. That's the name of the podcast. Paulo is thick.
Paolo's a
All
monster.
that. So we're gonna end on now, guys. This is a fun, as always. Like I said, this is fun. We got back to it. It's been a little bit, but we're back at it, with another episode of the OG3. So that's going to conclude this episode of OG3. Appreciate everyone who's tuned into this episode. Nearly 100 people tapped in and all that. So appreciate everyone who's watched, who's commented, and has showed love to all of us. So on that note, that's Mo, that's Jeff, I'm Chris, OG3, Off the Bull Network. We out.